Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. Hi, this is Craig. Just want to let you know you can now advertise here on Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. For more information, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. I got a really cool guest today. We're with Bennett Dean Lewis. He's a really cool guy. He's originally from Florida, from Ponte Vedra, Florida, which is up north in the state. Super cool guitar player. He started piano lessons at age 6, but it wasn't until he started playing his mom's acoustic guitar at 9 that he fell in love with playing music. He got his first electric guitar for Christmas at age 9, and that was a game changer for him. He took to it very quickly, and he ended up practicing for hours on end in his room. At 17, he attended a 5-week summer program at Berkeley up in Boston. He got introduced to theory and jazz, and that was the switch that made him want to move forward. He then got accepted to the University of Georgia for college and moved to Athens, which is a really cool college town for those of you who don't know, in 2007. He got into the eclectic music scene of Athens, played music with a few friends and at a few bars, but still never intended to make it a career. However, in 2009, while he was in school, he met singer-songwriter Lera Lynn and struck up a friendship, started touring with her, supporting her music, and at that point, he realized that, hey, I think I can make a career of this thing. He played with Lera for 3 years until 2012, at which point he moved to Nashville, and he still performs with her once in a while and does tours with her on and off, but at that point, when he moved to Nashville, he started to branch out. A month or two after moving to Nashville, he got a phone call from Kevin Barnes, who was the brains behind the Athens band called Of Montreal. He was asked to record a new album with them. The album was Lousy with Sylvian Breyer. Sorry, I messed that up. I always do. Lousy with Sylvian Breyer. That's a wild album title. Once the album was finished, Kevin asked him to join the band as a member, and he was a member of the band for 3 years. They toured all over the world, recording a second studio album called Aureate Gloom, as well as a live album, Snare Lustrous Doomings. Wow, I feel like I need to go to Limerick school to pronounce these album titles. He left the band in the middle of 2015 to focus on being more present in the Nashville music scene, did a handful of one-offs and side projects, and he was then approached by, at that point, who was an unknown Nashville songwriter named Maren Morris to play a few shows. Everything sort of snowballed, and now she's a 10-time Grammy-nominated one win, also a CMA and an ACM and Billboard's artist, and Bennet has been her lead guitarist over 3 years now. And I want to thank Jake Curran for hooking us up. And for whatever it's worth, Jake said you're a monster guitar player. And that says a lot coming from Jake. So, man, congratulations. And thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, glad to be here. And yeah, Jake is the man. He's a monster.
He is a monster, man. I felt bad because he asked me, did I want to go, invited me to the show. It's just not that music wasn't really my scene. But my daughter went.
What, you're in Tampa? Was it the Tampa?
Yeah, it was at the outdoor.
It's not the Absolute Perfect Vodka or something. Is that West Palm?
No, that's West. No, this is I don't even know the name of it. I go there often enough. I don't know, but it's an outdoor theater, an amphitheater, and my daughter went, and she was like over the moon. She was so happy. I mean, she was really glad, and then she was like, this is totally minutia, not related to them. Sorry, listeners, but she calls me up. She goes, Dad. And I'm like, yeah, is everything right? She goes, yeah. Can I go backstage? I'm like, I don't know. Do you have tickets? I let you go backstage. She goes, I don't know. She goes, I'm going to go backstage. Is that okay? I'm like, yes, go ahead. They will soon let you know if you can't, And then she called me back. She goes, I can't. I said, okay, well, enjoy the show. Anyway, man, Berkeley, you loved that program at Berkeley, but you wound up going to Georgia. What prompted you to go there? I was surprised reading that because the sports thing, to be honest with you, so Florida and Georgia are such rivals in sports.
Well, so I did the program at Berkeley. It was the 5-week summer intensive, I think is what they call it, and it was a really good time. It was, I was 17. I was still in high school. I think it was my senior year of high school, or right before the summer before senior year. And so it was really fun getting to go up there and kind of be on your own and sort of, it was almost like a taste of what college would be like.
Pre-college. Yeah. Cool.
Exactly. But I had played guitar and been in music, pretty much all my life up until that point, but it was really just a hobby. It was something that I really enjoyed. I did my, in my house a lot, but I never really did it out. And so I was never really in any sort of music scene per se, coming up through high school or middle school or any of that. And so getting to go to Berklee and really be surrounded by like-minded musicians was, it was really eye-opening. It was really cool. Other people enjoyed music as much as I did and wanted to practice and play and just kind of jam. So that was really, something special. It definitely helped me branch out into, new genres. There were a bunch of jazz cats up there that were just insane. What they did, I don't know why they accepted me into the program. I mean, I was nowhere near. But so just kind of being inspired by these young guys that were amazing at what they did. They showed me jazz. I took a bluegrass ensemble. I was kind of getting into bluegrass at the time, and since then I've been really heavy on flat pick, and I love that kind of stuff.
Well, you're living in like a hub of it right there in Nashville, man. There's tons of great bluegrass artists in that area.
This is the place to be for that. But no, it was great. I loved all my teachers. I loved the experience. But at the same time, I learned that I didn't really, I thought about going to Berklee. I said, this is cool. Maybe I should apply. But, I didn't necessarily want to make music my homework, if that makes sense.
Yes.
As soon as it becomes an assignment to start like studying modes or theory, it kind of takes the joy out of it a little bit. And I fully respect people that do that. And I think Berklee is an incredible, school and education. But I chose a different path. I wanted to kind of have a normal college experience while still playing music, obviously. Go ahead.
No, I give you credit for having the awareness about yourself about that you didn't want to make music as an assignment. I mean, I think that takes a lot of maturity to know that at that point in time of, because when you're younger, even when you're older, forget age. I mean, sometimes you don't have that awareness, man. So I give you a lot of credit for that, actually.
Yeah. I wanted to keep the magic in music, you know what I mean? And not kind of rip the heart out. And again, no disrespect to anyone that goes to Berklee or studies music, because they're better musicians than I am.
No, it just wasn't your thing, though. I totally get that. You have that right.
But yeah, so I wanted to go to Florida, instead, because my dad went to Florida, University of Florida. My dad went there, my sister went there, all my friends were going there. I was from Florida, and that year, I applied, I didn't get in, and I really didn't. I had no plans to go to Georgia. I'd kind of put all my chips on going to Florida, but I had applied just for the hell of it. And lo and behold, I got into University of Georgia. Did not get into Florida.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, but it was the best thing that ever happened. Athens, Georgia that's my magic special place.
Very cool. What did you study in school? Were you a music major? No, or were you?
Oh no. Again, I wanted to have just a college experience, and at this point, I still wasn't planning on pursuing music as a lifestyle, as a career or anything. So I just went in. I was a business major for like a year or two, and then I got to accounting, and that kicked my ass. And so I said, man, I need to switch to something that doesn't require accounting. so I ended up in the advertising school, and I graduated with a degree in advertising. And it's kind of weird, but I think you can really use advertising kind of all aspects.
God, yeah. You could use all that stuff you have. Has any of the stuff you learned, like the business or the advertising stuff, have you been able to put any of it into place? Or
Sure. I mean, advertising, marketing, it's all kind of the same thing. And if you're trying to get a job or a gig in the music industry, you need to market yourself, and you have to be, appealing to those that are looking to hire a guitar player. And so it's, it sounds kind of silly and simple, but learning how to put yourself out there in a way that other people would enjoy being around you, that's essentially advertising,
yes.
Marketing.
Yeah, 100%. When you were touring with Lera Lynn, were you in school or did you leave? It sounds like you were still in school.
Yes, I was still in school. Let's see, my thing is going. I was a junior, I believe, because I was in my house on Child Street. Junior year is when I first met Lera and started kind of playing with her, and and she wasn't full on touring.
Okay,
it was stuff here and there. It was Southeast regional. We'd go to Macon, we'd go to Augusta, play the Star Bar, and just stuff like that, to where I could do it. And also at that point in time, I wasn't super bogged down with classes, so I could skip something here and there if I needed to. So it wasn't world touring by any means. It was pretty manageable.
Was she a student there as well, or she lived there?
She was a student, I believe. Actually, not at the time. She was I don't want to say older than I was, but
no, that's cool.
She was she had done her time at UGA and was just kind of around Athens. There's a big scene of those that stick around, kind of, and so she was just working at what was it? It was a coffee shop. I can't remember what it was. Anyways, she had a band called Birds and Wire, and they were really cool. Neil Fountain was guitar player in that band. He's an Athens guy. He's an amazing guy. I can't remember the other players, but they were great. Anyways, I used to go see him at around town at venues at Farm 255 and stuff. And I was just blown away by Lera's voice and her songwriting. And anyways, mustered up the courage one day to go talk to her after a show. And she kind of brushed me off and said, "Yeah, go talk to my drummer." Anyways, I talked to her. Yeah. And he was also kind of producing her records and stuff. His name is C.K. Koch. He's a great guy. But anyways, we swapped info, and I emailed Lera the next week, and we ended up getting together and starting, what has amounted to 10 years of friendship. God, I guess it's been 10 years.
And so she needed a guitar player. Were you in the right place at the right time?
Yeah, I think she was, I guess, gonna transition away from the Birds and Wire thing, and I could totally be botching this, so you'll have to ask her. And step out on her own and do the Lera Lynn solo thing, and I think she just needed someone who had nothing else to do and was available.
Hey, great!
Right place, right time.
Absolutely, man. Well, it's interesting that the way that your whole thing has happened, it seems like it was, you were I hate to sound so flighty, but in line with the universe, sort of, because you weren't pursuing this and it came to you.
My whole music career has been being at the right place at the right time. I've definitely worked hard, but also I've caught some breaks, which has been nice.
Yeah, that's wonderful, man. What made you leave her? That the situation you had with her and moved to Nashville, and what did you get out of your experience with her musically?
Well, so we'll start with that back half. Musically with Lera, I learned how to be a touring musician, kind of. I learned how to be a sideman, how to be on the road. It was my first real thing, my first real outing into the touring world. And so, just learning how to fit in the mix, in a live mix, and how to not overplay, and how to sing harmonies, and how to, hold yourself up visually on stage, stuff like that. You got to cut your teeth somewhere. A lot of people just go up there and they stand around, and Lera would not have that. She wanted us to look good and dress the part and move around on stage, and I was not good at it for a while.
That's great, though, that she was willing to give you constructive criticism to get you great.
I remember, God, she didn't, we didn't have any money. There was no guarantees or anything, but she still had people come in and help us with our clothes, and friends of hers that were stylists or whatever.
Right.
You kind of learn that showmanship thing. She definitely placed a lot of value on that. And then she was just an amazing artist. She still is. She has one of the best voices out there. And so to see her kind of do her thing and command a room, it definitely, I was taking notes on what makes a successful front person. Not that I'm a front person by any means, but you can certainly use those skills as a sideman, so to speak.
That being said, it was time, obviously. What was the trigger, or not trigger, but what were you missing that drew you to Nashville?
Well, I wasn't really missing much. I loved playing with Lera, and if I remember correctly, she was kind of coming up on. We had done a lot of touring, and we were out with Katie Lang for a few months, and we had been talking about moving to Nashville. She wanted to go there too, and that's where she is now as well. And she actually moved to Nashville like a month before I did.
Okay.
We both kind of wanted. We love Athens. I love Athens. She was a longtime resident there. And but there's kind of like this, I don't want to say a ceiling on the music scene there, but it's sort of limited as far as where you can go in your career being based out of Athens. And so Nashville was sort of the logical next step. We were sort of in, it was like at that point in time, Americana was hot and kind of that folky Americana rootsy thing. And so Nashville was the place to be. So she went over there. I went over there. She was going to kind of take a break from touring, and I just needed something to do. I had graduated college and hung around in Athens for a year or two, and I just kind of needed that next step. So Nashville was 4 or 5 hours away, and it seemed like the land of opportunity. You know what I mean?
No, totally. Most people that have been from other places make a conscious decision. They say, I'm going to go to LA or Nashville. And it used to be New York, not really anymore, because it's the scene there is small and it's so freaking expensive. But, so yeah, that's not uncommon. So then in that, when you got there, were you planning on anything, or you just kind of moved there with a couple of bucks in your pocket and said, hey, I'm going to just see what happens? Or
I had nothing planned.
Good for you, man.
I just kind of figured there's so much music going on. Certainly I can weasel my way in somewhere. And actually that didn't really happen. I got there and I did like maybe a session or two. I figured, hey man, you can just be a session guitar player. It's a lot harder than you think it is.
Oh yeah.
But oddly enough, it was, let's see, I moved there in November. It was only like 2 or 3 months later that I got a call from Kevin Barnes, who was based in Athens, with Montreal, to join them. So it was kind of funny. I moved away from Athens to go be in Nashville, and then I kind of got recruited by an Athens band. So I started just driving a lot.
How did someone in Athens obviously said, oh, you ought to call Bennet?
Yeah, so I had a good friend. Her name is Rebecca Cash, and she's a great singer, and she actually was in the band. She was in Of Montreal with us, but her and Kevin were tight, and he was coming. It was coming time to do the album, and she had recommended me. I guess he was looking for a guitar player, and she had recommended me, and that's kind of how that came to be.
So then you hook up with Of Montreal, but your first album with them was actually their 12th record, which, as an outsider to me, I would imagine that gives you a huge leg up. You're not working with guys that like going in the studio for their first record, man. These guys were very seasoned pros, which means therefore you're going to learn, all the meaty stuff, and you're not going to have to make the same mistakes everybody else is making going into their first album.
Well, I mean, yes and no. So Kevin is the brains behind Of Montreal, and not solely. I mean, it's his band, but I mean, other people have obviously contributed their talents over the years. But he is kind of the mastermind behind everything and writes the songs and whatnot. But the band has kind of had a rotating cast over the years. There's been kind of different incarnations. And so when I joined, it was actually, the record was supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, it was supposed to be like a Kevin Barnes album. And he was working on it with pretty much a new cast. Clayton, Ricklick, our drummer, he had been around for a while at that point, I think maybe a year or so. But Jojo Glidewell, Bob Perrins, me, and Rebecca were pretty new as far as coming to the scene and recording the album. Kevin had done a lot of stuff. He kind of built a lot of the tracks on previous albums, by himself on the computer, playing all the parts, doing it all himself. And he kind of was he was being inspired by like the Byrds and the Stones and kind of that stuff at this point in time. So he wanted to cut like a live, sort of organic sounding record. And so he wanted to have a full on live tracking studio band. So it was sort of a new lineup. So not everyone had been, on 12 albums at that point.
Okay.
But it was a crazy experience. That said, Kevin had been on a billion albums at that point, and he was an amazing guy to work with, and he produced the whole thing, and it was really cool. He was the seasoned, vet as far as I'm concerned in that situation, and I learned a lot from him in that recording process because, that was my first, full length album, recording experience.
What, if you're comfortable answering, and if you're not, that's totally cool. I was curious why you left because they made you he made you a full band member. And that's an unusual thing. I had,
I was with Montreal for about 3 years, and it was, some of the best times of my life. And those guys, I mean, it's a real deal family. It is, you will not meet a better bunch of people than the Montreal crew. And, but socially it was a band, everyone kind of viewed us as a band but it's Kevin's thing. And so at the end of the day, after 3 years, I said, this is awesome. This is amazing. I love all these people, but I think I need to kind of step out and see if there's something more as far as a career path for me, or, maybe I'll do my own thing. I wasn't really certain, but it's just at certain points, I'm sure you've gone through it. It's like you're with something and nothing is wrong and you love it, but you just know that you got to kind of step out and branch out and kind of throw yourself out there to see what's next and to see if there's any sort of growth. But, I look on those days very fondly and I miss them dearly because it was an amazing time.
Man, again, I give you a lot of credit because I think that takes a lot of wisdom and maturity and courage to go, everybody reaches decisions every day, but acting on them and coming to a decision and executing something are worlds apart. So I give you credit for.
It was scary as shit.
Yeah, but they all are.
I was just, for a solid week, just every day, I was like, should I do it? Should I not do it? Should I do it? And at the end of the day, you just got to do what's best for you because you just don't want to upset people or hurt anyone's feelings or even their touring situation or anything. So you got to do it in a proper fashion if you're going to leave something like that, which, I never want to leave anyone hanging. So if ever it comes time to part ways, I try to do the right thing, give plenty of notice.
Sure. Honestly, man, credit to you for doing that the way you did it and having the wherewithal. So then Maren Morris finds out about you. My question is, you were in like an established thing, and Maren was just getting launched, sort of, I guess, right? How did you, you obviously had some sort of gut feeling or maybe not, or maybe you just said, fuck it, let me just do it, because, I like her or she's nice or I like her. What was the whole, what was the yes trigger?
Well, man, I needed to pay my rent.
That's a very valid yes trigger, man. We've all been there.
I'd been, I left Montreal, I guess around, middle of the year 2015. And then I went out with Lera that fall and did like a month with her.
Oh, cool.
But aside from that, I didn't really have much work. I was just doing little one-offs around town, help. People were, a lot of people do showcases in Nashville all the time. So they always need guitar players, to play at the Basement East or something just to round out their bands. And so I was just trying to pick up as many of those as I could. And I was doing a gig with a guy named Ryan Beaver. He's a great dude, country guy, great songwriter, and awesome stuff. And but it was just we did one or two shows, and Maren had actually sang on his record on one of his songs, just doing some backup vocals or whatever. And so she had come up on stage at one of those showcases to sing, and it was one of the nights that I was in the band, and I don't even remember if we met or not. But I guess that was kind of our first introduction somehow through a friend at one of those shows. And a week or two later, I got a phone call from her and said, "Hey, I've got a couple acoustic dates. Are you available?" And I said, well, I can't do the first chunk, but I can do the second chunk. I don't know if you're into that. And she said, "Yeah, let's do it." And I said, "Phew, I need to pay the rent. This will be good." And,
so she obviously liked what you're playing when you guys had appeared together.
I get, what's funny is I was actually playing. I play a little. I'm not good by any means, but I play a little pedal steel. I was playing pedal steel at the time, so I don't know what she saw in me. But it's all. She asked me to play these shows. I thought she meant pedal steel, so I started learning all the songs on pedal steel.
Oh, that's so funny.
There were no pedal steel tracks on the album, and so I was like, I guess she just wants me to make it up. So I was gearing up to play this whole set on pedal steel, and she calls me up the day before I'm supposed to fly to Austin, and she goes, "Hey, do you only play acoustic or do you sing as well?" And I was like, "Oh, acoustic, okay."
Yeah, man.
Because I was about to haul my pedal steel down to Austin, Texas to open for Lera Lynn with her, and that would have been embarrassing to show up with no guitar.
With no acoustic, yeah, that would have been awkward to say the least, man. Yeah. It's funny though, man. Sometimes when things are just meant to work out, you can do no wrong. I mean, the moments don't happen often, but when they do, and this is like the worst example ever because I'm not a gambler. But one time, my wife and I were in Vegas, and we were playing blackjack. And again, I'm not like if I lose $50, I leave. I'm not. It's just not my thing. Anyway, so I was winning everything to the point where like I got 2 10s, and for some reason the woman thought I said take a hit, which like they always check on you, and they gave me an ace. And I was like, wow, this is what it's like when you're in a zone. Too bad I'm not betting like $1,000 and I'm betting like $5, but, but things like that have happened to me career wise as, well, like what you're talking about. It's like when it's meant to be, man, it's going to happen.
No, I'm a big believer in that. I think if you put the right energy out there and be who you are and just kind of surround yourself with people that you appreciate and value, I think, good things are bound to happen. Yeah,
man, for sure. Especially if you like what you're doing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Do it for the right reasons and enjoy it.
So now you've been with her 10 years.
Oh, no. 3 years.
3 years. Sorry about that. Now, I apologize. Now you've been with her for 3 years and everything's going great.
Yeah, just over 3 years now. It's been a wild ride, man. That first year we did a bunch of, she put out her first album that first year. We did a bunch of radio promo and running around and just kind of, doing the less than desirable shows, in order to hopefully grow. And man, people took to it. They love her stuff and she skyrocketed, I feel like every week for the past 3 years, it's some new accolade or she's climbing some chart. It's been a wild ride. So
that's great.
It's been really cool to see it happen in real time, kind of from beginning to end. And also, it's been really inspiring to see her handle such an ascension with grace and poise, and she's just a normal person. So it's really good to work for her.
What's upcoming for you all?
So we have a pretty big year of touring. I think it's going to be some headlining stuff in the spring.
That's really cool.
Festivals in the summer, then headlining in the fall. And the schedule, I don't know what I'm allowed to divulge, but it'll come out, I believe, in March. So there's a new album coming out in March as well, and the tour schedule should come out then.
That's really cool.
I think it's going to be a good one. For the past 2 or 3 years, it's been support slots. In the summer, we've done a headlining thing here and there, but we've been out with Keith Urban and Niall Horan and Sam Hunt and doing a lot of these big summer, arenas and amphitheaters and stuff. But, at some point you gotta cut ties and jump to the headlining thing and just kind of see what happens. And so that's what this year I believe is going to be. And I think it's going to be a good one. I think that the responses have been overwhelmingly positive, and I think we're going to have a good turnout. Knock on wood.
That's great, man. I hope you do. It sounds like everything's working real smoothly. This past summer was so brutally hot, man. that was, you guys did a lot of outdoor stuff. It was rough, no?
It was cooking in places. If I remember, it's all a blur, but if I remember correctly, I think we were always like one city ahead of the heat wave. But we did catch up, like down in Houston, it was like 114. That was miserable.
Wow.
And you can never wear shorts on stage. It's not a good look. And so when you're wearing 14, God, man, it's cooking. I think it's pretty for sure.
It was funny. I'm trying to think of the amphitheater, man. I'm just having such a brain fog.
I know the amphitheater because it was the day after my wedding anniversary, and we drove down there. I know it's right there.
It's right off I-4, but it used to be called 1-800 Gary. Now it's something else. I remember it as Ask Gary.
In the backstage feels like you're in the Keys.
Oh my God. It was so, in fact, it was really funny because I saw a couple of concerts there this summer, and even at night, it was like, you couldn't breathe there, man. It was gross. It was just so fucking gross. So what would you say? Because
it's not the Mid-Florida Credit Union?
Yes. Thank you. Mid-Florida Credit Union. Thank you. It was like having a brain fart, man. You've done a lot of things already for a young guy. What have you enjoyed so far the most? What's been your best musical experience?
Oh, I mean, it's a loaded question. There's so many. I mean, it's as far as, I love touring. I love traveling. But I also love being in the studio, doing that second of Montreal album. We went out to Sonic Ranch just outside of El Paso, which was, I mean, man, it was one of the coolest things. We were out there for about 2 weeks. It's right on the Mexico border. And this place is really cool. This guy, Tony, runs it. And, it's a giant pecan orchard. It's like 3,000 acres of pecan orchards or something like that.
Wow.
But they also have a world-class studio, it's Neve consoles and just a mic locker you wouldn't believe, and just vintage amps and guitars out the wazoo. And so we were out there just, having a great time. And this was, of the two studio records I did with Montreal, this one was a little more experimental and out there. So, it was kind of cool to get into this weird desert headspace and go walk around in the middle of nowhere, and then go into the studio at 2 a.m. and record guitar solos. So that was, I love that aspect of just kind of being creative and getting into a weird headspace and trying to get out there and really just have a good time recording. But at the same time, there's just so much to say. Touring, I think one of the Montreal tours we did, it was something crazy, like 30 countries in 30 days. it was all in Europe, and
so that's what a great experience that was.
I mean, yeah, sure. You're in like Switzerland maybe for like 17 hours, but it's like, when else am I going to go to Switzerland?
Right.
So doing this wild trip where you're just all over France, then down to Italy, and then up, through Scandinavia. Then I had one of the best days of my life in on an island outside Athens, Greece. I think it was God, I don't even remember.
Mykonos?
No, it was like an hour ferry ride off of Athens, Aegina or something like that. But we all rented mopeds and just had one of the best days ever. It was amazing.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean, and then as far as like venues go, it's it's like playing places like Red Rocks. We've been lucky enough with Maren to do Red Rocks like 3 or 4 times, and I don't often get sentimental leaving venues, but man, you leave that thing and it's pretty powerful playing that place. It's really special. So, as a cop-out answer to your question, it's like the whole thing has
it's cool. It's not a cop-out. No.
Favorite part has just been being able to do it. There's the people you meet and the experiences you have. It's definitely a lifestyle, and it can be a pain in the ass, at times, but it's every day. I think I'm lucky, and I think, the powers that be that I got to, and still get to do this, because it's a fun time. That's for sure.
Did your wife get to travel with you at all?
Yeah. So her name is Mary. Mary has pretty much only known me as a musician, which is good.
Yes.
We've come up together knowing how it works. So
that's important.
It is important, and she can get frustrated at times, rightfully so, when I'm gone for a while. But she's seen it and she knows what's going on. But yeah, so like since the beginning, she would come to Athens and hang out. She went to school in Texas, but she'd come to Athens and she got to be real good friends with Lera, and Lera's like a sister to her. And she'd jump in the van with us, and we'd go drive around and do these crappy gigs, but we all had a good time. And then with Montreal, she came out and she'd do a week with us, and we'd cram into one bunk on the bus. And she actually ended up selling merch for like a 2-week run we did.
Oh, that's cool.
And you know what? She actually, and I think it was that run. It was out at the Great American Music Hall in San Francisco. There was a lot of like stage performance art in that band. We had like a whole like troupe of artists, and they dressed Mary up as a lizard with like this D. Snyder wig and like a tuxedo, like spandex onesie. And they pretty much brought her out for the encore and threw her out on the crowd. And man, they crowd surfed her from the front to the back. I mean,
oh my God, that's hilarious.
That's one of my best memories of being on the road.
It's funny it seems like very just somehow that someone's dressing up in a D. Snyder costume after all the, I don't know if you've seen, do you know D. Snyder? You've seen him, obviously, for all his whole career has been spent dressing up, in women's costumes or whatever. So
yeah, but no, she comes out all the time. We were just over in Europe doing an acoustic thing, and we got to celebrate my 30th over in Paris, and she came. So that was fun.
That's great, man. That makes it like a lot easier.
Well, and I've been lucky enough to, all the people I play with have been great people, and they accept you as you, and they also accept your significant other.
That's really cool.
Maren is always encouraging of people to bring their spouses or boyfriends or girlfriends out, and same with Montreal, same with Lera, and it's I've been lucky to never play for jerks.
That's great, man, because it's tough being, especially you're young in your relationship too. Not that changes necessarily, but it's nice to have that person that you care about with you there, man. It makes, you get to enjoy, even though you're not out, you're seeing Switzerland for 17 hours. If someone's with you that you care about, it makes it a lot nicer, man. You could be in a hovel somewhere. If someone's with you, you care about, it doesn't matter. I get it. Man, so you originally, I don't know if this is a loaded question, is there a worst experience that you had?
Okay. Well, yeah. So we can do, kind of riffing off what we were just talking about. It's like just a general thing is, and this goes just for being in the industry. The worst experience is just kind of being away from those that you care for and that you love. And it's really hard on relationships, on friendships, to be gone for so long. And so that's kind of been one of the harder parts of being in the industry. As far as like specific worst things go, it's kind of funny. We played Red Rocks with Maren, and then the next day we flew to a festival in Tontitown. Where was it? Where's Tontitown? Illinois or something? It was not to bash any festival. It was the Tontitown Grape Festival or something like that. But they put us up in this parking lot, and we flew in, so we had backline. It was like a Roland Blues Cube, and just like the worst possible backline for a live show you can imagine. So anyway, that was probably the worst show I've ever done.
Made worse when the day before you were in Red Rocks.
One extreme to the other. We were in a parking lot, so we called it Red Rocks and then Gray Rocks.
They put you up in the parking lot? What is it? You mean like
the stage was it was one of those
okay.
semi that they back in, and then the semi opens up and it's the stage. It was very it was humbling.
Yeah. But
we applaud them for trying their best to put on a show, and no ill wishes to the Tontitown.
What the hell else is going on in Tontitown, You grew up in Ponte Vedra. What was your childhood like?
My childhood was great, man. Have you been to Ponte Vedra?
No, that's like near Jacksonville, outside of Jacksonville, is it?
It's the beaches of Jacksonville, pretty much. So it's 20 minutes north of St. Augustine. It's east of Jacksonville, but it was phenomenal. I was born and raised in Ponte Vedra. We lived in the same house until my parents lived there for 25 years. I was born there, raised there, went to college. They kept it for another 6 years, and so I knew this one neighborhood. It was phenomenal. We were across the street from the beach. It was home, and Yeah, I was raised surfing and skating and
It's very cool.
just getting crispy in the sun. I loved it there, man. I have no complaints.
Do you folks still live there, or they moved?
Yeah, so they sold the house and they moved 3/4 of a mile down the street to Jacksonville Beach, just over the county line. But they're still there, and I try to get down there as much as possible. My sister's down there; she's an older sister, and yeah, it's a fun spot. You know, I love it. I love visiting. I miss it dearly. I don't think I could ever live down there just because there's not a huge music scene. So it's sort of,
there's not a huge music scene really anywhere in Florida. I guess maybe if you're in Miami and you're involved in Latin music, there's probably a big scene there. But
Florida's a hard one, man. It's really a strange. It doesn't really have much of a musical identity, so to speak. And
not at
I
all.
love the first one to defend Florida, but
no, it is what it is, though, man. I mean, in fact, I talk to people, musicians all the time, and they're like, it's even tough to come down here to tour. Because
you don't realize how far out of the way too Florida is.
Yeah,
it's like going to like Washington or Oregon or something. It's just like it's way up there.
Well, and plus there's not like loads of clubs, so there's like maybe 3 or 4 clubs. So you got to travel throughout the entire state, which is a big fucking state. You know, you got to go down to Miami, then you got to go up to Boca, then maybe West Palm, and then if you want to come across those like across the alleys, depending on where to where from Fort Lauderdale to Tampa is 5 hours. You know.
It can be a pain too. And then if you go down, it's, you kind of hit everything on one way down. Then, when you're coming back up, it's just kind of a waste of time. But
it's totally a waste of time. And they're not massive clubs. Is it monetarily? It doesn't turn out to be worth it for a lot of artists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only I find like a lot of only the larger acts come, and they come here all the time.
Because there's the amphitheaters and stuff. If you can, if you're big enough to play an amphitheater, hopefully you can sell that thing out, or at least get enough to make it worth it. So, you can do those. But if you're going to, what's the one? There's what's in Orlando?
Epcot. A lot of people play Epcot.
I was thinking of the club in Orlando. You're right though. It's just hard to play.
Like the Hard Rock, I think, is the only one I know. And I don't know. I don't really hang out in Orlando. As long as the Hard Rock is there.
The Social's in Orlando.
Oh, I don't know that one. Is a Social? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a rough. That was I think we played there in like July, and it was.
My God!
But the AC was out, and it was like it was cooking.
I can't imagine. Well, even here, like there's not, unless you're playing Ruth Eckerd, which probably holds like, I guess, 2,000 people. Beautiful concert hall, but like it's expensive, and you got to have a lot. You got to sell it out to make it worth your while, pretty much. And there's no mid-level 500 seating places. Really, it's like one extreme to the other, so it's hard to find a place. And it's the same on the East Coast. So, unfortunately, I don't know.
Well, maybe it'll develop. We'll see what happens.
Oh, speaking of build up, I would imagine like where you grew up has changed dramatically over your lifetime.
Down in Florida, in Ponte Vedra?
Yeah, no?
Yeah. Well, speaking of clubs, there used to be the Freebird Cafe, Freebird Live, and that was the club I grew up going to shows and everything too. And man, they shut that down and turned it into a bar, unfortunately. So yeah, there's not a lot of venues and stuff going on over there. Well, actually, there's a new one called the Blue Jay Listening Room. I think an old friend of mine started it. I haven't been there yet, but it is cool to see stuff like that popping up. Like they're doing proper acoustic listening room shows and bringing in, like cool. John Paul White and stuff like that. So there is a little bit. There's a cultural scene kind of developing in the Jax Beach area. That's kind of fun to see, and hopefully it spreads. And I know St. Augustine's kind of getting cooler, and there's some fun restaurants popping up down there and whatnot. But I think Florida hopefully is catching a few.
Hopefully, yeah. It's weird. There's not a lot of culture in Florida. That's, you mentioned that. There's really like not as it's. I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to be here. Don't get me wrong, but it's just
Florida.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I'm from New York City originally, so like my frame of reference culturally is like jaded very much, because like I can probably I'd be saying this no matter where I lived in the world, pretty much, not to sound like a snob, but you go from a place where like there's nothing but vibrant art life.
Yeah.
Walk out the street and anywhere, and then it's hard for anything to, Anyway, I'll shut up now about New York City. Nobody needs to hear how much someone loves New York City. I'm not gaining any fans. Were there any surprises for you when you started playing music about the business side of things? Good or bad?
Good or bad. It was interesting getting used to not getting used, because I've really never known anything but it, but just the lack of security. It's like you're on a tour 1 month and all of a sudden that artist might be taking a year off, or you're going show to show, then all of a sudden it dries up, and so you got to sort of you really got to be financially savvy in order to make it work, and I learned that super quick, to really just kind of hoard your pennies on the front end of things until you can have enough work or have enough reference or contacts to where when things aren't happening over here, you can make things happen over there. It's really about juggling these gigs so that you can keep doing it, because that's the goal is to kind of keep doing it.
Yeah.
Make it work. So
do you have any side hustles along those lines, like stuff that you do to make money, maybe in music, but not, picking up your guitar and playing?
Yeah. Maren keeps us super busy. So like we're always on the road. I've never really felt the lack of work from her at all. But that said, there's plenty of downtime on the road. So, doing stuff like remote sessions, I'm trying to get farther into that world. I really enjoy it. It's fun. I get a lot of calls to do pedal steel, oddly enough. I told you, I'm not good at it. I don't know why people keep calling me to do it. I can just kind of do that ambient thing pretty well, I guess. But that's fun to do. I'll do some music library stuff.
So you're doing licensing? You have some music stuff you're licensing?
Trying to, yeah.
Good for you.
It's licensing companies that are building up their library. So I don't know if anything has licensed out at this point, but trying to do that kind of stuff. I want to get into the songwriting thing a little bit more. It's a lot of my time I work on. We're starting to set. So my wife runs a summer camp over here outside of Asheville. It's called Camp Wayfarer, but we're starting to host writing retreats over here. So it's kind of like getting things like that, little projects like that off the ground. Yeah. So we're looking forward to seeing how that develops. But that's kind of it. But like I said, Maren keeps us, pretty busy. So it's been, thankfully, a healthy touring season.
Yeah, I think it's, as a guy looking at in the music from a business background, I would say that licensing, man, that's an essential tool that everybody should try to have, because it's kind of like mailbox money, and nothing's wasted.
No,
you never know when you write a track today, but it may be used 5-6 times in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It's a smart thing to do. And like I said, there's so much time. So much of us touring guys, we wake up, you're at the venue at 6, 7, 8, 9 in the morning, and you don't do anything until 5 in the afternoon, when you go sound check. And so you have this whole chunk of day to where you can just pull out, and with technology today, you just pull out your computer and a little interface, and you've got amps and stuff all on your computer. You can make a full-fledged song in no time.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you're doing that, man. I wish you continued luck with that. Is there anything like, everybody makes mistakes in whatever we do. Is there anything, maybe if you're open to sharing one or two things, mistakes you might have made earlier in your journey, and what were the lessons that you learned from them?
Well, moving to Nashville, it wasn't so much of a mistake as an averted mistake, luckily. But and it's nothing big, just a small thing. But when I moved there, I started hitting up everyone I knew. Hey, I'm looking for gigs. Hey, I'm looking for gigs. Hey, I'm looking for sessions. I need to record on some stuff. Like put me in touch with anyone for And I remember, I won't say who it is, but an acquaintance of mine said, "Hey, man, you got to quit doing that. It's ask these people out for a beer. Ask these people out to just to hang out, to get a cup of coffee, and you develop these relationships, because it's really about relationships and friendships more than it is about like, oh, this guy needs work, I'm going to give him work. It's like, is this guy a good hang? Is he deserving? And so, you really got to put in the time to just be a good person when you're in these situations, and that's how you're going to succeed and get the work and get the calls, so to speak. Any other mistakes? I mean, you really got to. I had a few issues. This harks back to earlier in the conversation, but just you really got to maintain your relationships and take care of them and give them the attention that they need, because when you're out on the road for 2 months, 3 months, it's really easy to just not call someone.
Yeah.
And it's it's crazy, because there's, like I said, there's so much time in the day, but for some reason it's just so easy to brush it off and be like, I'm in the airport, I'm not going to call anyone. And that could really bite you in the ass, because you lose some of your close friends, and you can have some serious issues with that. So, I had experiences that were, not so fun regarding that. And, that was a big wake up call.
Well, good that it sounds like you're pretty open-minded to recognize that and at least learn from it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's, what's the point of making music if you're not around anyone to enjoy it? You gotta have fun. You gotta have a reason for it.
Yeah. Hey man, let's talk about gear for a few minutes.
Sure.
Guitars, electric specifically. What's your go-to right now, and what other two would round out your top three? Man,
it's no brainer for me. The guys down in Austin, Texas, Collings Guitars, they're cranking out some of the best things I've ever played. They're amazing. For the past couple of years, I've been using one of their I-35s, which is kind of like a 335. It's a little smaller in scale, but semi-hollow. It has the throwback humbuckers in there, and man, that thing screams. I love that guitar. And then the other thing, I got one of their baritones, actually, baritone electric, and I just thought it would be like a cool kind of character piece on a song or two. I'm using that thing on half the set. I mean, it's amazing. And again, their attention to detail and their setups are just so incredible that you can play this thing like it's a standard scale guitar. It's so easy to play, but you're getting these huge baritone sounds out of it. So I like that. I like the baritone, the I-35, and then I recently just got one of their I-30s, which is kind of like a 330. It's totally hollow. It has I think they call it trestle bracing. Just a little wood bracing system. It's still totally hollow, but it keeps it from feeding back. Like a lot of hollow bodies have issues with. But I love this stuff. They really nail that sort of Gibson-esque humbucker P90 sort of thing.
The I-30. Sorry, I just want to ask you a question. Is the pickups the same as the I-30 and the I-35?
No. So the I-30 are P90s.
Okay.
Dog ear P90s. Yeah. The I-35 is a humbucker.
Thanks.
And I just I love country twang and everything. I've built a couple parts casters over the years. I've really been looking for a good Telecaster. It's funny. They're so ubiquitous, and like it's such a simple build, yet they're so personal too. And like everyone has this sound in their head of what a Tele should sound like. And I think it varies from person to person. And so I've been looking for I have one on order from Revelator Guitars that should be coming in a couple of weeks. So I'm excited to see how that turns out. But
cool.
Yeah, those are my go-tos. Yeah.
Do you know Eddie Robinson?
I can't say I do. Should I?
Well, he's a guy in Nashville, young guy. He's probably around your age, maybe a little tiny bit younger. He's been a Collings guy for a long time.
Okay.
And he loves he's got an I-35 and maybe an I-30. I think he has two I-35s, if I remember correctly.
They're crazy.
He loves them.
It's wild. I mean, it's out of this world attention to detail. They're amazing.
Very cool, man. Anybody that influences your playing that people would be surprised to hear?
Well, I'm a big bluegrass guy. It's funny. I've never really been in a bluegrass band, but I love flat picking and I love acoustic music. My mom's from Western North Carolina, so I kind of fell into bluegrass through her and through our mountain folk family kind of thing. But we'd always go out to Telluride Bluegrass Festival and just it's such a cool scene and a fun scene, and everyone's really nice in that world. So I really took to it.
Very nice. Yeah. Everybody is so nice there, man. It's like,
but so I got into that like around, I don't know, 18 or 19. I really fell into that flat picking sort of world. And, like Brian Sutton, is insane.
He's insane, that guy, man.
He's a fruit, and
he's the nicest, like no ego, humble dude. I interviewed him. He was actually,
and he was great. I don't think he knows who I am, but man, I love his playing, and I totally idolize him. And all the the Punch Brother guys, Chris Eldridge,
great guy.
He's a friend, and I love it. The whole thing about it is there's this new era of acoustic musician where it's the chops are just out of this world. Everything is so clean and precise, and I really like that because, well, first off, bluegrass is pretty much just one big scale exercise. I mean, it's so and until you get into like some of the crazier stuff, but and it's all about your right hand. And your picking hand and keeping that clean and really, I spent like a year and a half just working on my right hand.
Sure.
And I'm still nowhere where I want to be, but I love that if you can get good on acoustic guitar and get good flat picking and learn that world, it's like high altitude training kind of when you go to electric.
I agree with you.
It's great. I mean, all of a sudden, when you go from 13 acoustic strings, down to, lights or something on your electric, it's a piece of cake. And then also just the clarity in your picking, and I love it,
Yeah. All those guys are really cool. I've interviewed a lot of those people, man, and they're very nice. Chris.
I was trying to get, I got some of the Nile guys into fiddle tune. It was fun. It was, there's a bunch of Irish folks, and they didn't play bluegrass. So I thought it was kind of ironic that I was teaching them like these Irish fiddle tunes.
I was going to say, it's really similar to like Irish folk music, man.
Yeah, exactly. So Jake got on board, and we did some flat picking on the road, and Connor would, he'd bring his fiddle out and try and play some of these fiddle tunes. And that's what's really cool about bluegrass too, is that it's relatively simple. A lot of these songs are just 3 chords, and you can make the melody part, if you're flat picking or if you're on a fiddle, you can make it as easy or difficult as you want to make it. You can put in these intricacies, or you can just keep it, bare bones. But point being is when you're in a circle or on, in a jam, it's like everyone is allowed to participate, because even if you just know your G, C, and D chords, you can play rhythm. Yeah. Or Brian Sutton can be next to you, and he can rip this face melting acoustic solo, and it's really cool. It's kind of this even playing field social genre, and I love it. So that's kind of a special kind of music in my world.
I can see why, man, because they are some of the nicest people I've ever met. And Brian is his work ethic is just like, there's a reason why he's won the Bluegrass Player of the Year for 10 years in a row. I mean, yeah, for sure. Desert Island Discs, man. What's your top 3? No particular order, just for today.
Oh God, yeah. I read this. What to think of this? I love. You're familiar with Blake Mills, his stuff. Yeah, he's an absolute freak. But his first album that he put out, Break Mirrors. I love the production on that album is absolutely phenomenal. It's really cool because he's such an accomplished guitar player, and he's just so creative. But he doesn't on that album. He doesn't like. It's not like a guitar album. It's like not like this guitar wank album. It's all about the parts and the tones, and I really love that. I can go listen to that album, day in and day out. So I really like that one a lot. It's kind of, it's a little silly, but Vince Guaraldi Trio, Charlie Brown Christmas.
Oh, dude, that is a wonderful album, man.
The drum sounds are out of this world, and it's just so laid back and chill. And oddly enough, I'll put that on in like the middle of July. It's sure they're Christmas songs, but the musicianship is out of this world. Talk about pocket and just tasteful piano playing. It's pretty insane. And then let's see, to round it all out, third one, man, this is hard. You know, I'll today at least, my third one is John Hartford aeroplane.
I don't know who that is.
So John Hartford is a kind of a bluegrassy Americana-y guy. He's no longer with us. He passed away back in the 90s, I believe, or was it early 2000s? I wish I knew. But he wrote "Gentle on My Mind."
Oh wow!
Yeah. So, but he had this great album called Aeroplane, and it had "They're Gonna Tear Down the Grand Ole Opry" and "Good Old Days" and "Steam Powered Aeroplane." It's just all these great tunes. But he's kind of a funny. He has some funny songs. He has some sweet songs. But he wanted to be a steamboat captain all his life on the Mississippi. And so he did that. But anyways, I got this album back in high school, and it really kind of was an eye-opener for me as far as branching out into different genres. And so it's kind of an important one for me. There's some great playing on it, Vassar Clements on the fiddle and everything, but sonically it's nothing wild, but just it has this special spot in my heart, for leading me to new things. Kind of taking me away from all the Florida music I was listening to and showing me a different world.
It's funny. All three of the records that you mentioned, you had some nostalgia about them, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah,
well, that's what resonates with people. Is that, what your album can mean something to you, or have some sort of a value, intrinsic value. And I think a lot of these things, be it showing you a new genre or showing you new forms of production, or a new way to think about your instrument. That's what's cool about that's what's cool about music, I guess.
Totally, man. Preaching to the choir. I agree, man. Tough question here, man. Bennett, what do you like most about yourself?
It's almost to a fault, but I'm pretty easygoing. And I think that's actually crucial to be a touring musician is to kind of go with the flow. And I like, I don't like confrontation. I like for things to kind of just be, go with the flow. So my wife gets upset with me sometimes because it's like feel something, have an opinion, and I'm also very opinionated, and that can get me in trouble too. But
that's very opposite.
I know that it's when it comes to topics, I can be opinionated. When it comes to how you live your life, I can be very, go with the flow.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Easygoing, yet very opinionated. That's funny, man. How about the flip side, man? Is there anything you'd like to change about yourself if there was one thing you could?
I have a lot of ideas that don't necessarily get put into action. I wish I could be a little more organized and stay on top of that stuff. If I say I'm going to record a piece of music, or if I say I'm going to put together some sort of writing retreat or some sort of outing, music related, it's like I want to really focus on carrying that stuff out more often.
You know what? Some of that could be like there are different characteristics that everybody has, and some people are just really good idea generators, and they're great at creating something, but they just need people that CEOs of companies, often people that found companies, and sometimes they can carry the ball over the line, but other times they can't, and they just get other people to do that for them.
Yeah.
No, seriously. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad
other people.
Yeah, no, it's not necessarily a bad thing,
No,
because I've had discussions with several of my buddies that are kind of like my peers, just friends of mine in business, and we all come up together and we've all studied similar things at different times, and we each have certain strengths of this guy's good at doing technical stuff and building and minutia. Another person's good at coming up with ideas. Another person's good at execution. So, and they're all pretty, they're all doing okay.
Yeah.
But in spite of, they figure out a way to maximize what they have. Because sometimes you're just not an execution person. That's fine. You get somebody else to help you with that.
The thing that's hard for me is like when I'm on the road, it's like, I can't do anything till I'm off the road. And then when I'm off the road, it's like, well, I can't tackle that until I'm back on the road. You know what I mean? Because it's
tough.
It's these awkward chunks of, all right, I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks. So like, I can't, I'll tackle that when I get home. And then you get home, you're like, man, I'm pretty beat from traveling to Australia and back. And it's like, I need like 2 days to just kind of get my head back. And
totally fair.
All of a sudden the week you're home is cut in half, and then you're back out on the road. So it just comes down to time management and really just locking in these stuff. But no, you're totally right though. It's like having the right team behind you to pull some of this stuff off that can be
the difference. Yeah. Or, I know I was guilty of this. I always used to like have all these ideas, and then I'm like, wait a minute. I'm a consultant, so I used to watch a couple of my clients, and I got the idea from them. I'm like, you know what? This guy's always getting shit done, but he's not like me. He's really okay with biting the elephant one bite at a time. Like I'm the person, I used to be like, I got to get this done. So I'd stay up like a week straight, like literally like until and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense because it's not healthy. You don't get it done anyway. And then I saw a couple of my clients. I'm like, these guys are just they're very content with like, the tortoise and the hare kind of.
Yeah.
And I said, when I kind of realized that, I stopped ever trying to be the hare, and I was really good with being the tortoise. And
yeah. At one brick at a time kind of thing.
Yeah. And I just like let everything like that go. It was just like I just wanted less stress in my life. It was part of like a bigger plan of just having less stress. And I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to like, when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I'm going to do the best I can in the conversation,
Yeah.
So I know that maybe, I don't know. But cause I think, from an outsider looking in, I'm like, shit, this guy's done a lot. So, tell me something about yourself people would either be surprised to hear or might find a little odd.
Okay. When I was, probably third or fourth grade. Yeah. My teacher called my parents into class. She basically was saying, I kind of had like an ADD thing, and I just had to touch things like all the time. I was always tapping or just messing around with pencils and pens and crap. And anyways, she called my parents in and said, hey, we got to figure something out. Like your son is not focusing. He just needs to like have something. Anyways, they taught me how to knit. So they gave,
okay.
So I was a 4-year-old, like knitting scarves all day long. And I never really got past like rectangles or anything. But anyways, for a couple of years, I did that, and then I finally kind of figured out how to hone my attention. But a couple of tours ago, actually it was that fall tour with Lera Lynn right before I joined with Maren Morris. We drove by a Michael's one day, and I said, what?
Let me relive my old pastime.
Make some knitting needles, and
so
I just went back to my old ways of making all I can do are rectangles and squares. So, but hey, that's what a scarf is. So I'll knit a scarf, give it to someone, knit a scarf.
So everybody on the Maren tour has a scarf, a Bennett Dean Lewis, a BDL scarf. That'd be a good, like Yves Saint Laurent, YSL, like BDL. I could see this now.
Yeah, that's the idea. Come on, man.
There you go, man. A whole line of, merch. Handmade merch. This is actually knitted on the tour bus. It's got to have some more value, right? Most important thing your dad taught you. What did your dad do? What kind of work did he do, or is he still working?
My dad is in the contact lens business.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's
recession proof too.
Recession proof. It's nothing that I wish I could get into it, but it's nothing that I really I don't think I could pursue it. But he's done a great job. Best thing he ever told me. Well, there's two things. Number one is network. I mean, like I swear, since I was a kid, I feel like he's been telling me it's all about who you know, network, and you just want to make friends with everybody and make a good impression and keep in touch with people, because you never know when you're going to be working with these people or when you're going to need, help from somebody. And so, I tried to keep that in the back of my mind just throughout college and throughout, the first couple of years after college. And even to this day, it's just networking and making sure, you're in touch with the people that you need to be in touch with and keep in touch with them. And then the other thing was, I love this one, but the worst, what do you always say? It's the worst someone can say is no. So it's like, never be afraid to reach out, because, the worst that'll happen is someone says, no, we can't do that, or no, we're not available, or no, we don't need you, or,
sure.
But if you don't ask, you'll never know. So
absolutely, man.
I really subscribe to that, and I try to make it a point to really be out there and asking questions and because, hey, you're never going to get anywhere unless you ask some questions.
100%, man. How about your mom?
She taught me pretty much about how to be creative and be an individual. My mom is an interior designer, and so she was all about having a creative eye and independent thinking and being unique and how to view things in a way that most people wouldn't view them, and how to see the beauty in things that aren't, necessarily beautiful. And she also was the one that, she plays a little guitar. She had this old Lincoln guitar. She got me into the whole thing. So,
very cool,
that's kind of the biggest lesson of them all. But yeah, between my mom's creativity and my dad's business mindset, I kind of fell right in the middle, and I try to subscribe to both of those ideologies.
It's great, man. Besides knitting, any hobbies or interests outside of music?
I like to cook. Again, I'm not very good at it, but I have a fun time. I think there's a lot of similarities between cooking and music. It's just kind of.
There's a load of musicians love cooking, man.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're making an album. You're putting in all these different ingredients. Songs like that. Baking is a whole different thing because that's more like science. But I'll do my best to cook. Other than that, I like hiking. My wife and I, we split our time between Nashville and North Carolina, so we're always trying to be out in the woods. That's We've nice. Got a slab named Tuck that we love. He's kind of our pride and joy, and so we always like going out in the woods with him and just kind of trying to take in some nature. I grew up surfing. I don't do it as much as I wish I could. Just we're landlocked now, so I miss that. But whenever I'm home, I try and get out in the water and do some surfing.
Man, I just got sad thinking that I had a lab. We had to put him down about 18 months ago or something like that. It was a tough one for me, man. We had to put down 2 dogs within 6 months of each other. It was a struggle, man. Labs are great. I mean, dogs in general are just wonderful. I mean, pets are great. Dogs, cats, whatever your thing is, man.
Just for our dog, it's pretty wild.
Yeah. Last question, Bennett, and I really appreciate your time. What's the toughest decision you ever had to make, or most difficult thing you had to do?
It's cutting ties with Montreal was really hard. You're wrestling with, am I going to disappoint my friends? Am I going to disappoint my family, who I've been with for the past 3 years? But, do I need to do this to better myself? Is that selfish? Is that not selfish?
Sure.
Am I part of a team here, or am I looking out for number one? You know what I mean? So that was, that was actually, people quit bands all the time. But that was the first time I really had to do it on my own accord and proactively, talk to someone about, hey, I'm quitting this thing that I've been a part of. And that was super hard for me. I'm trying to think if there's been anything else. Not to say it's been smooth sailing other than that, but I mean, I've had really, really good luck in the music industry as far as transitioning from gig to gig. Yeah, I mean, I consider myself super lucky. I haven't had too much turmoil or nights of lost sleep. So
once you spoke to, what was it? What's the Ryan? Wasn't it?
Kevin. Yeah.
Kevin. Sorry. Did it go down easier than you thought?
No, it did not. I love Kevin. He was less than thrilled, I think. I gave him plenty of notice, but I think he was a little disappointed. That said, we saw each other soon thereafter, and things were great.
Everything was cool. That's good.
He totally was fine with it and everything.
Well, it's not the first time it's happened to him.
No. I think he just gets close with people, and there's a lot of loyalty and whatnot in that band. So it's just that kind of thing. But everything is great now. But yes, other than that, there's been occasional things, but nothing that's really been like a life-changing sort of
good
or hard, tumultuous situation kind of thing.
Good, man. I hope it stays like that. I hope your toughest days are behind you.
Yeah, I doubt that, but yeah.
I hope so. Hey, man, let me tell people where to find you. Check out Bennett Lewis Music. It's Bennett Dean Lewis, but his website is BennettLewisMusic.com. On Instagram, he's at Bennett Dean Lewis. And what's the name of your wife's camp in Asheville?
Oh, yeah, Camp Wayfarer. www.campwayfarer.com. WAYFARER. FARER.
Oh, FARER. Campwayfarer.com. And like, who would? That's for kids, or you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, it's currently it's just a traditional summer camp for boys and girls, age 6 to 16. But we are working towards having a creative curriculum process going on over there, creative process curriculum rather, and hosting writing retreats. And kind of the ultimate goal is to blend the two worlds of camp and music. They're both unique, special kind of arenas, and I think they could really go hand in hand pretty darn well with one another. So we'll see what happens. That's kind of where we're headed, and we'll hopefully pull it off.
Well, we wish you best of luck at it. If somebody is interested in like going to a writing retreat, is that something going to be posted on your website or on your Instagram or your Facebook or?
They're going to be through like publishing companies on the first, kind of on the front end of things. But as we grow, the goal would be to have some sort of camp opportunities, writing retreat camps for people to work with, Nashville writers and publishing companies. But yeah, as that develops, it'll be on the Camp Wayfarer website, I'm sure.
Very cool, man. Well, thank you, man. I wish you a lot of luck. And next time you're down in Florida, I'll come out and see you play. And as long as it's not in the summertime, it's 200 degrees out. Man, thank you for your time, Ben. I really appreciate it. I wish you a lot of luck. You're doing great.
Sure, this is a blast.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this interview, please share it with a friend on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thanks again to Bennett Dean Lewis for spending time with us. I really appreciate it. Please check out his music and support what he's doing at BennettLewisMusic.com or on Instagram at Bennett Dean Lewis. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.